Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and I'm going to be talking about the new Sherri Papini documentary that is out on ID and Max. It's a 4-part series, 4 hours. I've watched it. I'm not going to recommend that you do or don't. You might find it very interesting, but I'm going to break down what it was about and what I really think was the problem I got from it. It is called Sherri Papini Caught in the Lie. And let me tell you, she's still lying. She is still lying. And this is something I spent 4 episodes trying to, in a sense, say she's changed. And now she's telling what really happened. Of course, All right. Before I just read a little bit, I'm just going to read you from People, just a little blurb in case you have no idea who Sherri Papini is. Then I'm going to go and show you what she's saying today. I want to talk about her defenders, who I think are morons. And then I'm going to talk about the evidence that still stands that proves she's a liar. All right, so before I get to that, if you're new to the channel, please do like and subscribe and check my playlist for all the other cases that I analyze. All right, here we go. This is from People. Where is Sherri Papini now, 9 years after kidnapping hoax? And let me just say this. It's been 9 years. This woman committed a crime. It was a hoax. She lied to the FBI. She lied to everybody. She cost a ton of money to people. She took money from victims' funds. She's a criminal. And yet, here she is with her new documentary. And of course, there is a book coming out, you betcha. So she's going to walk away with a lot of money. So anyway, what happened? Sherri Papini has made new claims about her 2016 kidnapping in the explosive 4-part docuseries, Sherri Papini Caught in the Lie. All right. She was originally called the New Gone Girl. If you ever read the book, saw the movie, that was a woman who faked her kidnapping, and that's what she did too. Oh, no, I take that back. Now she says she was kidnapped, you see. I'll get into that in a minute. So she was originally called the New Gone Girl when she went missing in 2016. She's changed her story in May of 2025 and claimed that she did not fake her kidnapping after pleading guilty to doing so. Instead, she's alleged that her then boyfriend, James Reyes, they have quotes around this, so I'm going to put quotes around it, abducted her. He has declined to comment on the claims. She went missing November of 2016 while on a run in Redding, California. She went running. I wouldn't say she went missing while on a run. I would say that she went on a run and made herself disappear. After investigators spent weeks searching for her, Sherri suddenly reappeared 3 weeks later and claimed that 2 Hispanic women kidnapped her at gunpoint. Now, I want to say that when she reappeared and was telling the story of what happened, I didn't buy it right up front. I did a blog originally that I said, I think she's not telling the truth. And I got a lot of flack for that, believe you me, because people are like, how could you not believe it? Look at this poor woman. She was brutalized. She was branded on her back. She's got bruises all over her. She was found, she was tossed out of a car on the side of the highway and she's in the dark. And she, how can you disbelieve this woman? And I said, because her story doesn't add up. That's why I disbelieve it. And I have put out a number of, here we go, on YouTube. You can find, I've put out at least 3, if not more than that. My original one that came out on YouTube, this was way after I put out my original blog. I think I might have linked the blog in that video. And I called it The Bizarre Case of Sherri Papini. That was from 3 years ago. And that was prior to her arrest, when people were still believing she was innocent and had been kidnapped. Then 10 months ago, I put out this other one, Sherri Papini, Perfect Wife, Perfect Mother, Perfect Psychopath. And then the other one, that was 2 years ago. All right, that's the last one there is Sherri Papini sentenced not nearly enough prison time. Yes, I think she got a very light sentence, and I think that was ridiculous considering what she did. But I'll link those below, and you can go check out if you really want to understand more thoroughly all the details. So now, 4 years later, after she resurfaced, so she went missing. 3 weeks later, she reappeared, all bruised, and it looked like she'd been brutalized. Um, and what the police believed at that time, they were questioning what she was saying, but they weren't going public with it, and they didn't have enough evidence to prove anything. So she reunited with her husband and children and stayed with them for like another 4 years until the police found DNA evidence that tied her and her ex-boyfriend, James Reyes, to the disappearance. His DNA. She claimed that she had been kidnapped by two women who kept her in captivity, and there were no men around. And then DNA appeared on her that was male, and it turns out to be this ex-boyfriend who she had been texting with and having a relationship with of some sort over the last number of months before this all happened. So they arrested her. So in August 2020, James told the authorities that Sherri had planned everything and had asked him to help her get away from her husband, Keith Papini. Sherri was subsequently arrested in March of 2022 for allegedly faking her own kidnapping. That's interesting, I'm putting allegedly here. She was actually, well, they charged her with lying to the FBI. So that's, I mean, maybe the allegedly thing here is, now she is claiming, it was alleged, because now it's true that she didn't fake her own kidnapping because she was actually kidnapped, right? Anyway, she was charged with and later pleaded guilty to making false statements to a federal law enforcement officer and engaging in mail fraud, and was sentenced to 18 months in prison. Very light sentence. Because she, first of all, when she accused these two Hispanic women of kidnapping her, she caused a huge problem in the entire community where everybody's looking around to see, what these terrible women were out there. And it affected the whole Hispanic community. So it was a pretty crappy thing to do. And not only that, she cost a tremendous amount of money searching for her and using a lot of manpower. To me, this kind of stuff should go down with a 10-year sentence. That's my opinion. Anyway, Sherri was so she spent 18 months in prison. She began her prison sentence in November 2022 and was released in August of 2023. Less than 2 years after a prison release, so it was 2023. Now, 2 years later, oh my goodness, she has a new story and has placed the blame on the ex-boyfriend. And she claims that she made up the story about the Hispanic women abducting her because she wanted to hide her affair with Reyes, which she said wasn't even sexual. It was just an emotional thing that she was just she wasn't even seeing him. She was just texting and stuff. That's all it was. However, she alleged that her former boyfriend kidnapped her. That is alleged. After she asked him to come visit her in order to end their relationship. Like, you need to have a get together to end the relationship. Okay. Reyes has denied to comment on these claims because he's got enough brains not to get involved in this whole documentary nonsense. And same is true for Keith Papini. He's like, not dealing with this. So anyway, let me go now to what I want to show you coming from that documentary. All right. Let's take a look at what Sherri has to say. She says, the story the world thinks they know is that I'm a master manipulator who's fooled everyone. Well, no, I think you're a master manipulator, but you didn't fool everyone. And that includes me and the police and the FBI and anybody with any sense in their head. She goes, yeah. Now I get to tell the truth, like the truth you told after you were found, on the side of the road. That was a truth. And now you always have truths. It's an interesting thing with pathological liars, which she is. I will say that without question. She could take me to court over that because she's told so many lies in her life. And if you go back and look at her history, and I do have some of that in the video, the previous videos, her history is fabrication, saying this person did this person did that, being a victim of this and that. She has always been a liar. So she's a pathological liar. So that you tell the truth now, sure. And you're going to see that her defenders, which include her own psychologist, think she is telling the truth now. I mean, yeah. Okay. Haven't you ever lied? Well, this is an interesting trick. This is where you are the one of the biggest pathological liars ever, and your defense is that other people may have told a lie once in their lifetime, you know. And if after you told a lie, and then that lie has been blown up. It wasn't blown up. You staged an entire kidnapping. You told the world 2 Hispanic women kidnapped you off the side of the road. You're the one who blew it all up, because when you returned, you could have simply said, I ran away because I had emotional problems. I had marriage problems. I ran away. I couldn't deal with things. You're the one who blew it up. And I'll link the legal document, for I think it's the FBI document. And the explanation she gives to them is incredibly long and detailed about what these women did to her, how they kidnapped her, what they look like, she goes on and on and on and on with like probably 300 lies. So if anybody blew anything up, Sherri, you blew it up. All right, I just lost where I'm at here. Okay, and broadcasted it around the world to fit the narrative for the media's version. The media's version. Now, mind you, I'm not overly fond always of the media's version of things. I agree with you on that. But the media's version on this was relaying exactly what you said. And then when you got arrested because the evidence proved that you're a liar, they did broadcast that. That was no agenda. That was actually, for once, the truth. I question this ID documentary. I think this one is a little sketchy because they carefully leave out a ton of information. I'm not quite sure what they're even trying to achieve. Just maybe they just want everybody to be going, maybe she was kidnapped. I guess that's their thing. So this whole media what do you say? Oh, you say that they did all this stuff to fit the narrative for the media's version, but now you're perfectly willing to go along with the media's version, aren't you, Sherri, when it suits you? All right. Now that's her. And if you actually do watch these four episodes, you will see that she's constantly blaming other people, constantly the victim, constantly. And so she is who she is. She ain't changing anytime soon. But she has these defenders. Let's look at some of her defenders. Well, the most likely defenders, of course, are her parents, her mom and dad. And her mom actually doesn't believe she was kidnapped, which I think is kind of funny. But everything else, she feels like everybody else is so mean to her. And this is what they originally put out, which I thought was amazing. We love Sherri and are appalled by the way in which law enforcement ambushed her this afternoon in a dramatic and unnecessary manner in front of her children. That's when they arrested her. They're appalled by the way law enforcement acted. They didn't appalled by the way she acted. What did she do? She let her children believe she had been kidnapped and may be dead. She let her husband think she may be kidnapped and dead. All her friends to think she was kidnapped and dead. Her parents to think she was kidnapped and dead. You aren't appalled at that, but you're appalled that she got arrested and her kids saw it? Oh, heavens. Okay. So that to me is just that. So that's one of her defenders. I want to point out some other defenders. Where's this one? This one's kind of funny. They threw this in, which is really ridiculous to me. So she's in prison, right? And so, if she was that awful a person, the other prisoners wouldn't like her, and yet they became her friends. And one of the women says, but when you're in prison, you can tell who's, bullshitting you. And hey, we know that she was, and she's a truth teller, says some of the other psychopaths in prison who like to get on TV. I mean, did you need to put this in the documentary? Does this serve any purpose? Are we now to believe she's telling the truth because somebody who was already a criminal says another criminal is telling the truth? Get out of here. So let's see who else there is. Where is she? This one makes me really laugh in a sad way. Okay, I think is this her? Oh, yeah, Sherri Papini. This is Sherri's sister-in-law. And at first I thought it might be her husband's, maybe her I'm trying to figure how this would work. Maybe her brother's wife or something. Somebody. I was having a real hard time figuring out that this was really going to be the sister of Keith Papini. Okay, so I can't even. I'm not good with trying to figure out all the relationship names. But anyway, it's actually Keith's sister. I thought it was something a little more distant. I'm like, she's defending her when she did what she did to her own brother. But she does say this: I'm not close with my brother. Well, clearly not, because you're going to see what she did. So she says, oh, first of all, she's got to smudge her room. And she's a little flaky, in my opinion. And if she's going to smudge her room, she should have smudged it before Sherri Papini walked into her house so that she would leave again. But hey, no, she's that kind of person. I don't want to say the word kook, but the shoe fits. Anyway, she said, this is, mind you, this is after they find out all this stuff. This is, Sherri came after Sherri was found alive. She went and lived with Keith and the children again. They were still looking for the women. So this is after her arrest. So, she knows what she did. This is a woman who needed help, where she could feel safe and where she could be protected. Maybe that's what should have happened to Keith and the children, but all right, and the community. And let's see, and where she could be listened to. Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, so I didn't mean to go there. I got one on the way here. And she needed love, and she needed an atmosphere. It was really exciting to have her around. So it turned out she moved in with me. Ended up became like her sister. They were like sisters, and they were having such a wonderful time, in spite of the fact that she committed a crime against everyone, and her nieces and her, I guess, niece and nephew. I'm trying to remember what the kids. I guess she didn't give a crap about them anymore. She gave a crap about her brother. She was more interested in hooking up with her because she's the famous one, and she's going to be the good person that cares and loves and. Sorry, the people that are her defenders are so appalling. It just drives me crazy. Now, there's a couple of psychologists. Oh, let me go to the defense attorney. This one's pretty funny. Where's the defense attorney? She's got a father and daughter defense attorney, and they're in there too. And he's like, I think she's telling the truth. Okay. He says, well, I really didn't care how much of a truth it was, because I was just trying to get the best deal I could get for her. So, and she had to admit that she faked the whole thing. It was a hoax because she wanted to get a shorter prison time. So she couldn't tell her truth at the time. That kind of thing. That's the father of this legal couple. This is the daughter. Her name is Chase Kinney. I mean, I swear to God, I think she, those old gumshoe novels, those are Dark and Rainy Night and the private eye is in his, his raincoat in the dark. She's like a character straight out of one of those novels. I swear to God. She says, I've been there. I know that feeling. She's talking about that. She knows why she lied about everything, that she had been abducted by this boyfriend. And then when she was just trying to survive. So she did the things she had to survive. And she says, I know that feeling because I once got on this yacht with some guys and they gave me some drink or something. And so I was, they roofied her. And then 5 guys, like, supposedly sexually assaulted her. And then she found herself, she thought when she woke up, she was going to be at the dock, but she was in the middle of the ocean. So that she had to please those guys in order to get her way back to shore. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but she was one of the most interesting parts of the show, not because it had any real any kind of importance in whether you want to believe her or not. But I swear to God, that woman looked like she was on methamphetamine. I mean, she was so wired. I'm like, what in the world? Don't know if she's a good lawyer or not, but geez, what a. So there's characters in here. And she also believes in her. So when you have somebody who's obvious a liar, an obvious manipulator, which she absolutely is. In my opinion, she does represent behaviors of a psychopath and behaviors of Munchausen syndrome. So all these people that suddenly seem to think she's just really a nice person who just got overwhelmed somehow and had to lie for whatever many thousand reasons she has to come up for lying, it annoys the heck out of me. All these defenders, it just disgusts me. Okay, so that's another one. Now let's go to our psychologist. They had on here a woman. Her name is Dr. Ramani Devrasula. She's a clinical psychologist, and she kept going on about trauma, that she could be lying because of trauma. A wounded person can be a liar, and a person can go through trauma, and a person can lie. And I'm like, she just kind of was wishy-washy, and I don't know whether I can blame her or not for what she said, because she wrote this book, and it's about identifying and healing from narcissistic people. It's not you. It's the narcissistic ones. She never said the word narcissism when it came to her, yet she wrote a book on it. Now, maybe she did. I'll give her maybe a little leeway here, because I know when you sit down and do these interviews with a documentary company, they can edit the living crap out of you, and everything important you said that they don't want in there. She could have said she exhibits narcissism, but they didn't want that in there, so they just chopped it out. I don't know. So I'll give her a break. Maybe she said the right things at the right time, but what it came out is wishy-washy defense, and that was kind of annoying. And then we go to her own psychologist. This I don't think I have enough. I have negative words to call people, but Detective Stephen Diggs, her psychologist, he says he specializes in the treatment of personality disorder, which I don't understand that he doesn't understand what personality disorder she has, because he doesn't use the word narcissism either, or psychopathy, or Munchausen. He doesn't use any of that. I'm going to show you what he does use. Oh, I got to read a little bit more. I believe what Sherri is telling us now. Seriously, what is wrong with you? She is now, most of the time, quite honest. Most of the time? Okay, what about the rest of the time? She's never going to tell a big lie to the public. She specializes in big lies to the public. And so it's just stupid, I tell you. Then he says this. So he says she has what's called self-defeating personality disorder. Let me read you a little bit about his diagnosis, because he's, I guess, allowed to diagnose her, because he is a psychologist and I am not. This used to be called masochistic personality disorder. It's personality disorder, you see, but it's not even. This one is not in DSM-V, which is interesting, because usually the psychologists and psychiatrists in the U.S. are like, it's got to be on the DSM-V, but it isn't. So what is it? What is self-defeating personality disorder? While self-defeating personality disorder is no longer used clinically, characteristics and symptoms related to this prior diagnosis could resonate with some people. There's the whole problem with all these different versions of personality disorders, that there's like, I don't know, a few dozen, Some of them are in the DSM-V, DSM-5, some are not. Some were there, some have been removed, some are now showing up. I mean, to me, it's all a bunch of gobbledygook and a lot of pseudoscience. It's just a bunch of crap half the time. But, you want to label stuff and you want to give it all kinds of different behaviors and then say, well, it could be this, or maybe they have maybe it's really, they have a few different things mixed together. All right. Let's see. Characteristics include negative self-references, feeling the need to humiliate oneself, cognitive patterns of finding oneself undesirable, and over expectations of rejection or failure. But then it goes down here and says this: those who exhibit the criteria for self-defeating personality traits may be described as, quote, self-sacrificing altruists. They may find satisfaction in serving others, viewing life as unfair, but yet perceiving they are tasked with helping others, even if the disparity is contrived. They might give their all in the workplace while struggling to have confidence to be personable or receive promotions. Those with this personality trait might see themselves as worthy only when it means serving others. So the claim here is that that's what she did with her husband, Keith. She served and served and served him, and she served the children. She keeps trying to serve people. And even her ex-boyfriend, when she was stuck with him after he abducted her, serve, serve, serve. And she's doing it all because she's a giving person. Give, give, give. And of course, she claims that Keith was an abusive person, not physically abusive, but highly emotional, abusive, and controlling. And she just had to keep doing whatever he said. But of course, we're ignoring the fact that through her entire life, she's had these behaviors of lying and manipulation. And they weren't serving anybody but her. So how is this she's self-serving to herself, but not to other human beings? I think it's a garbage diagnosis if I've ever heard it. It's like, what in the heck are you talking about? Let's see, did he say anything else? Oh, and then she did 5 years of EMDR, which I'm guessing per hour he made a lot of money off of. EMDR is some kind of eye thing where if you've had trauma, you do things with eyes. Okay, I should at least tell you what it means because somebody's going to say, Pat, you have no clue. Well, okay, EDMR therapy. Let's see, what is it? All right. It's eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It's a form of psychotherapy used to treat traumatic experiences, particularly those leading to PTSD. So when you have memories and feelings, you do side to side eye thing or tapping. I don't know, you're tapping on your head or tapping here. But anyway, a lot of people think it's a pseudoscience garbage, you know. It's not highly believed in necessarily. It's just one of these things, one of these claimed methodologies. Now, somebody might actually have some success of it. I'm not saying they don't. But this psychologist who thinks she has this self-defeating personality disorder has all this trauma from being abducted and tortured. So therefore, this is helping her, and now she no longer lies. I'm sorry, some of this is so nonsensical. Okay. Now, I want to go to what I think the important things are that prove this is all nonsense, that she's just full of it. And so is everybody else who's her defender. I find it just so annoying. So anyway, she went running, and supposedly she gets abducted by these two Hispanic women, which right away, I honed in on that right away and said, that's just nonsensical to me, because first of all, I haven't even heard of two women suddenly kidnapping some woman, you know, if she's out jogging and they're wearing bandanas. I'm like, what kind of crap is this? And so in my show, you see my picture here. Where did I put it? Oh, here it is. One of the things that made me laugh was that the Halloween right before she disappeared, she disappeared right after Halloween. She and Keith wore bandanas for their Halloween costume. And I'm like, I wonder where she got that idea from. You know, because people don't come up with ideas out of no place. They have some kind of memory thing. So I'm pretty sure she just thought back to her that bandanas they were wearing and decided, oh, I'll just say two women with bandanas. I mean, it was a stupid story. Never made any sense. And anyway, so she's out for this run, supposedly. Now she says that after they got the DNA on the ex-boyfriend, who she had been in communication with, and she'd been in communication with, let me see, hold on a second. I'm trying to see my little picture. Sorry, not her again. I want to find oh, here we go. Somebody I can respect. Okay. This is Denise Farmer. She was FBI special agent. And what she says here is, I can't say enough. She's a liar. So she was saying that Keith was being emotionally abusive. And she said, we also found stories that pretty much everybody she had been in a relationship had, and you see the quote she's doing, abused her. He abused me. He sexually abused me. He beat me. So she's always got this story, you see. So at any rate, when she was found quote on the side of the road and then brought in, the police were investigating her. She was like all flirty and grinny, and they said she was just, everything was like red flags all over the place because her behavior just was not right. And then years later, they found DNA linking her to the ex-boyfriend, James Reyes, who she had been in communications with and had hidden her communications from Keith under a female name. And people make a big deal of the fact that She apparently, when they were married, maybe before the kids, she was already like having all kinds of little emotional relationships with men, and hiding them under female names. And I guess he got nervous and like, is some, he should have just not married. He should have just got the hell out of there. You know, some people are very slow about leaving. You know, when they see a person has some kind of personality disorder, they should run away quickly. But a lot of times they are locked into that relationship because of they're in love, the sex stuff, you know, whatever. I've made a commitment, but I'm going to see what I can do to protect myself. So supposedly he did a thing called a post-nuptial agreement, which he was trying to protect himself and any future kiddies, I guess. And people say, oh, that was total control thing. Well, maybe it was, but maybe he just knew that she was real questionable. So, and she was. So even after that, she was still sneaking around doing this crap. So she had contacted this fellow, and was telling him that her marriage was bad, blah, blah, blah. And so then what they did was they got burner phones. So they were able to communicate because she wasn't using a regular telephone. They were using burner phones. Now, what's really interesting about that thing, which I don't see anybody mentioning, is that after she got kidnapped, okay, she goes for a run. And supposedly, okay, let me tell you this way she told the story, sort of. So James and she are having this relationship, and she decides she's going to end it, she claims. Now, later on, she does admit she totally led him on. She was telling him she wanted to be with him, blah, blah, blah. So she was manipulating the hell out of him. But all of a sudden, she says she wanted to stop manipulating him, and she was going to end the relationship by getting together with him. And I guess the idea was that they would meet. Well, you know, usually when you want to meet somebody who you're about to dump, you might pick like, oh, I don't know, a little cafe someplace, you know, a restaurant. I'll meet you at 7-Eleven, you know, someplace where you say, hey, it's all over, take your burner phone back, you know. But for some reason, he knew where she was jogging and was able to, as she's jogging down the road, was able to come right in front of her with the car and jump out and abduct her, because she only thought she was going to meet him someplace else. But yet, no, so here they are. So they're driving down to Southern California together because his burner phone and her burner phone are now in the same car. So there's that proof that they're together. But you say, well, maybe he did abduct her. All right, let's go to the cell phone with a hair in the grass. Okay, so she's jogging along. And she claims he grabs her. She doesn't know, mind you. She claims that she doesn't remember anything about the abduction. Maybe she has one little memory of being in the backseat, but that's about it. She does. So in other words, she's indicating that he's done something to her. She never has any pain in her head. It's not like he punched her in the face. You know, she doesn't have a broken nose. She's not knocked out. Why didn't she remember anything? Well, there's nothing like chloroform being used or anything. So she's running along and suddenly he grabs her and she goes blank. And her phone, she says, drops. Now, the phone that drops didn't drop. It was placed in the grass. That's one of the things the police saw right away. This does not look like a dropped phone. And where's it dropping from? You know, did she have it in her hand? Did she have it in her pocket? Where the heck is it dropping from? And what it is it's curled up. The stuff is curled up and sitting on the ground with her hair in it. Why? Even if he's grabbing her, why does her hair end up in it, entangled? And why does it end up on the ground in a nice little pile? And here's a close-up view of that. And why does she still have the burner phone? So if she were going to meet him, why isn't the burner phone in her hand and have the burner phone dropped on the ground? Why is it her regular phone? I mean, where did she have she's got two phones with her. So yeah, the whole thing is so sketchy. And I don't believe for a minute that the phone was dropped and she just happened to drop the right one so that her husband would find the one, you know, because then he could track the phone and find the phone. And then there was proof that she'd been kidnapped because the phone's lying there with her hair, right? That's it's a plan. It was a plan. Now, did he know that she was planning it to look like a kidnapping. I don't know that. And that's something that's hard to tell. She could have said to him, look, just meet me here. I'm just going to jump in your car and I just want to get away. And he would have no idea that she placed her phone on the ground and made it look like a kidnapping until too late. Or she could have said, look, I want to make it look like a kidnapping, so I'm going to do this. But then he's kind of a flaming idiot because he'd be the kidnapper. Is he really that stupid? Well, he doesn't seem very bright. So I'm just going to say that, James. You don't seem like you're the brightest guy. You know what I mean? But, and I think she is manipulative, and you've known her for years, and you've been probably manipulated by her before. I don't know what your issues are, James, but I definitely think she manipulated you into taking her to your home. So I don't think she was abducted in any way, shape, or form. So when she gets to his home, she claims then she wakes up and she's in a room with boards over the window, and she's tied to the bed essentially, or chained to the bed. And then he, at this point in time, tortures her in different ways, starves her, and makes her do sexual things to him. And she does those things in order to prevent him having actual intercourse with her, where she might get pregnant, you see. Like this guy, she's willing to do that, but this guy isn't willing to rape her. I mean, you already you already chained her up. You kidnapped her, chained her up, and you're not willing to rape her. Why not? So, but because she's willing to do this, give you a blowjob. Okay, then I'm not going to worry about it. Thanks. At least you're willing to do that. I'm trying to make you happy. Why is he starving her? What's the point? I mean, none of this makes a whole lot of sense. And then we get to the branding that she claims he branded her, and she would never allow that to be done. This whole branding business is another nonsensical thing. She says this. So James and I had talked about, she's now in her craft room, you see. And James and I had talked about her crafting, that she'd done this craft work. She'd done wood burning stuff and with letters, you see. And they'd had a discussion because guys just love to talk to women about their little crafts, And so she talks to him about it. And then she says, well, you burn the letters in with those things. And then she says, so when James had me tied to the table, he then had to screw these letters in, and then he burned her back with the word Exodus, and also some numbers regarding a verse in Exodus and the Bible. Now, he claims that she told him to go to Hobby Lobby and pick up the supplies to brand her with. I mean, isn't it just convenient that she tells him about her wood burning stuff and what she does, so that therefore he decides, what a great idea. I'll get those wood burning things and I'll brand her. For what? For what purpose? How is this? I mean, how does this even make sense? Now she, on the other hand, is trying to say that she's been kidnapped. And I think the whole concept for her was that she wanted people to believe she was kidnapped. She wanted her husband to believe. This is where I think the Munchausen thing comes in. She wanted her husband to believe she was kidnapped and tortured. And look what they did to me. And she's got even this this branding on her back. And she wanted the world to believe it because she would be famous, which she became famous. And the Exodus thing is a little weird. Why would two Hispanic women put Exodus on her back? I mean, what would be the purpose? If you were actually sex trafficking, which so many people thought she was being sex trafficked, I'm like, not at her age. And even if it was her, even if they did think she looked good and thought they could get her into prostitution, they're not going to abuse it to that level and burn stuff into her body so that she will be unsaleable. That's just nonsense. So clearly the Hispanic women would have no interest in branding her with Exodus on her back and this Bible verse. And why would James come up with this? Now, the Bible verse basically talks about fleeing and being able to get away from the Pharaoh. So that would be more of her thing. Like, I got away from the man in power, which I guess would be Keith. And I fled. It would have more meaning to her. I don't think James would have come up with that. I mean, unless there's something I don't know about James and he spouts a bunch of religious stuff. I just don't know. But why would he do that? He'd be more likely to put a skull on her shoulder or something, you know? It's like, why would he put in those? I just don't believe for a minute that he did that without her permission. So she was brutalized a wee bit, and she did lose weight. He said that she didn't. He brought her food, she wouldn't eat it. The wood over the windows. He said that she wanted him to cover the windows up. She wanted to be in this dark room, and it sounds like he's trying to put together a dungeon that he's keeping some woman, and it does. It's got some. I mean, there are guys who that's exactly what they would do. They would have kidnapped her and put her in that room, tied her up, and tortured her for a few weeks. And so could he theoretically have done that? Could she have planned this kidnapping? And then when they got to his house, he said, well, she's already planned it. I might as well follow through and have a good time, I guess. But she's never really said that when she got to his house that she told him she didn't want him. So here he's been in this long-term relationship with her, and now she's at his house, and she supposedly is looking for love. Why not just hang out together and have a lot of sex? I mean, it doesn't make any sense that suddenly he feels a need to do these things to her, not even have the actual sex, you know what I mean? Or just a little bit of it. So it makes no sense. But he said she stopped, she wouldn't eat much because she's planning to return, appearing that she has been abducted and tortured. And there are more than one Munchausen syndrome psychopath who has beat themselves up and caused themselves damage so that they can prove that this happened to them. They will do that. So I believe do not have any trouble believing she would be willing to do that. So I don't believe the story that he abducted her, and I don't believe the story that he kept her in captivity. And then on top of it, this is where it gets even stupider. Supposedly she's been abducted, tortured by this guy, and sexually assaulted by this guy. And then she says, you need to let me go because they're looking for me. So he goes, good idea. So he drives her back, dumps her on the side of the road. Now he claims that she just tied herself up, herself, which I believe she did because the way it was tied up looked like she did it because she needed the other hand to do it. But that's in my videos. So he dumps her, and she says, well, I won't tell on you. And she goes, okay, that's good. Is he going to believe this? And the claim is she's not going to tell on him because she doesn't want her husband to find out she was having this emotional relationship with a guy. So this guy does all these horrible things to you and brutalizes you, and you're not going to rat him out. And he's going to believe you're not going to rat him out. So that's nonsense. Of course, he'd think, well, when she gets down there, she'll just tell this, somebody said, why didn't she just say that she went to meet the guy to tell him I'm not interested and he grabbed me? Is that she could tell that story? Well, she could tell that story, but the other story was she didn't come up with that story originally. The other story was way better, So then she claims she just didn't want her husband to find out that she was in this emotional cheating relationship. So she was willing to lie to the police, lie to the FBI, let this guy get away with what she says he got away with, and put her husband and children through another 4 years of torture where they're searching for the people that kidnapped her. And you know why she says she did all of these things? This is funny. She said, yes, James is a sociopath. That's a pot calling the kettle. And the other thing I wanted to point out is that she said, let's see if I can find the thing where she said, where is it? So where did I put it? I put it someplace. No, that's the sociopath thing. I'm looking for the other. Oh, here we go. I mean, my primary focus was just the kids. What? Your focus was the children. You mean the children you left and ran away from and let them think that their mother was dead? Those kids? The kids that you put through all this hell? Those kids? I don't think you gave a crap about those kids. I think you have a personality disorder. Let's see, a couple other things. What is this? Oh, yeah, now I'm going to go away from the deeply wounded human beings that would do these things. All right. I want to point out the polygraph. So they bring in this guy, not him. That's a psychologist. Hold on a second. Let me find him. Now here. Where'd you go, dude? Okay, hold on. I gotta find him. Mm, okay, here we go. So this guy is Bartlett, a polygraph examiner. He's an ex-police, and they make a big point of that to show you that he knows what he's doing and he's been in law enforcement. Yeah, but he now works for a defense firm. So that's all he does is work for a defense firm. And he answered these different questions. And this is one of the questions he said. This is how you don't do a polygraph, by the way. Did James tell you that you were free to leave? And she says, no. And he said, well, he believed her. Well, first of all, it's a terrible question because James didn't have to tell her she was free to leave if she was free to leave. So she could answer that and still come out sounding perfectly fine. That's a terrible question. He asked a bunch of other questions. And did he brand you? And she says, no. And he says, those three questions, I absolutely believe you 100%. Okay, that's not professional. It's not your business to believe anybody because polygraphs can be faked. I believe you 100% is not the answer. All there is deception or not deception. Some kind of you have a reaction, you don't have a reaction. That's all there is. What you make of that later on is another matter. But he says he believes everything she said, except for that she might end up been abducted. So then they come up with this. He says this other thing. Let me see if I can find it. We got a reason why she failed that question. It's called a logical explanation. So after she got caught in her lie about being abducted by James, then she backed down and said, well, it's just that, I did manipulate him, but I did get him to come there. And so now she's got an explanation that she did maybe go with him. And so therefore, she's not really a liar. She just was afraid to say the truth. So now there's a logical explanation. We can accept that. I'm sorry, dude. I think you're a terrible polygraph examiner, but I guess you are a very good person to work for a defense attorney. Now, the last thing I'll do here, because I think this made me laugh so much. Okay, so this is Peter French, the FBI special agent who worked on this case. Love this guy. So the question was asked near the end of the documentary. In some ways, she could be the girl who cried wolf, right? So in other words, maybe she is a lying dog. Maybe she lies and lies and lies. She's a pathological liar, but maybe this time she wasn't lying. That can be true. I mean, that's a problem people have when you lie too much, because when you finally do tell the truth, nobody believes you, like the boy that cried wolf. And finally, one day the wolf came and killed him, or ate his sheep or whatever they did. Well, so the question was to the FBI agent, in some ways, she could be the girl who cried wolf, right? And he says that I burst out laughing when he said this. She's going to need a picture of the wolf. And then he goes, and the footprints of the wolf, and a confession from the wolf. In other words, her wolf, of course, is James. But that James did any of these things, there's no proof of. There's no corroborating evidence. And that's what he points out. You can't disprove things because it's hard to disprove or prove. But yeah, he's not buying it. He's not buying it. And I just want, she's going to need a picture of the wolf. That was great. So what we have here is a person who has a massive history of pathological lying, a massive history of manipulation. She blames everyone else for her situations. They're the ones causing problems. And I find it there, like that psychologist says that she had a horrible childhood and was sexually assaulted and so on and so forth. Parents try to say that she maybe was sexually assaulted by somebody, but none of that other stuff is true. So it's like she's always got somebody else to blame, and you can't believe anything she says. So anything she says about her childhood, you have to take with a grain of salt. Everything. And she, has a huge history of lying. Even claiming her own family has done things to her. And they've had to call the police on her. So, because she was lying about them. So this stuff has all been left out of the documentary. It's in my videos. So you have a person with a long, long history of what appears to be a personality disorder, which appears to be It could be, and I'm not a psychologist, so I can't call her a psychopath, but I can say she's exhibiting behaviors of a psychopath. And she's exhibiting behaviors of Munchausen's, which is a behavior of psychopathy, which is somebody who does these things, fake stuff, lies, manipulates to get attention, usually females. And Munchausen syndrome by proxy is when they start doing it to the children. Keith had some statements that he thought she was starting to do that to the children. Now, whether that's true or he was just trying to make sure she never came back home and got near the kids again, I don't know. But if she wasn't getting enough attention for herself, she could easily turn and have something happen to the children. So I don't believe she's safe around those children. And I think she should never be around them ever without somebody in the room with her. So I see this whole history of her, and I don't see any change. This whole thing, when she's sitting there smirking and laughing and trying to come up with excuses for things and blaming people, and she's just what she's always been. I don't believe a word of it. She was caught in the lie, and she's still lying. And all of you foolish defenders, I don't know what your problem is, because this is obvious to me. I mean, it's obvious, and you have no reason to defend her, especially if you're not, not her parents. I guess her parents, I can see they're trying to hang on to their little girl and try to believe she's not what she is. But at least Keith got smart and isn't defending her. And I was surprised, because a lot of guys who are married to women who exhibit Munchausen's, especially the ones that kill off all their babies, those husbands will still defend them. I call them dolts. It's like they're just so meek that they just allow this to happen, as long as they just don't fight back, and they're like, oh, I don't think she'd do that, or maybe she did that, she had a reason. Maybe she's just, I think I call them dolts. I thought Keith was a dolt, and he's one of the first people I've seen fight back against a person like this. And I was very happily surprised. I'm like, thumbs up for you, Keith. I'm glad you fought back, because your children need to not be around her. And I know it's a horrible situation for them regardless. They're going to lose their mother, but she may not be safe to be around at this point, because she's proving herself to be exactly what she's always been, in spite of what her psychologist claims, which I don't believe for a minute. I think he's just, people wonder why sometimes I'm not fond of psychologists and psychiatrists. It's not because all of them are bad, but there's some like this. I'm like, just because you got the title doesn't mean you know what you're talking about or can diagnose anybody properly. So, but it's an interesting documentary if you want to plow your way through it. But it also is, I find it offensive in the sense that she got a platform again. I don't know how much they paid her. And people say, well, they don't pay people for documentaries. Well, they try not to pay experts like me for documentaries. I don't know how often I've been told, oh, we can't pay you to be in the documentary because we have a budget. Well, that's because your budget went to her. In other words, you don't want to pay me for my expert work, but you'll pay her because you want her in your documentary. And sometimes people like her get big bucks, and they will say things like, oh, we didn't pay her big bucks. We just gave her a travel expense of $50,000, or we paid for pictures, and every picture was $10,000. They come up with all kinds of ways to get around the fact that they're just paying big bucks to people like her. Now, it's possible they didn't pay anything and she just wants to be in the limelight, so then they got a cheap deal. Or maybe she's just pushing for that book she's going to have coming out, which will probably be published by a major publisher, which offends me again, because no major publisher should publish a book by her. But I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out, big publisher, and gets New York Times, reviews. It's appalling, because and to have people play down what she did. What she did was horrendous. And to play it down and have some, well, maybe she's just a hurt little soul. She just, she suffered from trauma. She hasn't had abuse in her life. She is what she is. And she shouldn't be getting accolades, from people or hugs and, oh, we feel sorry for you. We're so happy, or whatever. Just, yeah. Okay, I'll stop now. So anyway, again, if you're new to the channel, please do like and subscribe. Check the playlists out. And if she puts a book out, I might have to actually read the thing and do a book review. And it probably won't be as kind as the New York Times, but it shouldn't be. Anyway, thank you for being here, everybody. And maybe I'll see you soon. Bye.